When it comes to these longer food challenge tours that take place overseas, I'm taking on a ton of food challenges. But with that, oftentimes there's a lot of ground to cover, going from one restaurant to the next. And in this video, I want to give you just a little taste of what traveling can be like while on these longer tours. And the example I'm going to use here is the pho challenge I attempted in Sydney. And if you haven't seen that video yet, I'll have a link for you in the description down below. So, to start things off, it all begins in Newcastle, where I've been for the last week and a half or so on this trip. But now, it was time to make the journey back to Sydney, Australia. And that meant saying our goodbyes to the one and only Jamie Miller, aka Lemon Blossom. And while these two say their goodbyes, in what seems to have some sort of bromance vibes to it, I'm gonna hit you with a bunch of fun facts about this Aussie legend. So first of all, he possesses an environmental management degree, and as an environmental scientist, co-authored scientific papers which have been published in some of the world's top science journals, such as Britain's Water Science and Technology. He's also worked as a venomous snake catcher for many years, and actually owns an olive python, which is Australia's second biggest snake species. And sticking with the topic of animals, he also owns 2 bear suits, which he's worn for charitable events, including the teddy bear toss for the Newcastle Jets football club. Are those 2 done yet? Looks like we still have more time. So how about a few food-related fun facts? Like how he once flew to Melbourne just to compete in an Australian barbecue eating contest, which was hosted by Man vs. Food's Adam Richman, and immediately flew back home after. He's also claimed many food challenge records and eating feats, some of which have earned him prestigious titles, such as the Schnitzel King of Newcastle. And he's even had numerous burgers named after him, and has also been featured in the local newspaper. But, in my opinion, one of his most impressive feats ever actually has nothing to do with eating, but drinking. Because in 2014, he broke a world record in beer drinking when he consumed a shot of beer every 60 seconds for a whopping 246 minutes straight. Not only is that impressive, but I do not advise anyone to try to break that record. And it's pretty close to 2 gallons. Okay, so it looks like their goodbyes are finally finished. Time to get a move on. So I gathered up my traveling backpack, which I've said this before, but carrying those things around can certainly be an excellent workout in of itself, which is why before making our way to the restaurant, we needed to find a hostel to stay and also drop off these giant backpacks of ours. And once we nailed down the place we were staying, it was time to track it down.
Don't worry, this one's voided because he's actually looking up a hostel for us to stay, so it's okay. Yeah, okay, Randy. Okay, Randy.
While I have no doubt in my mind the phone addiction is real here, there are times, particularly while traveling, like in this case, where his phone use is perfectly acceptable. But if you've been following this tour for any length of time, you already know there have been plenty of times where it's perfectly clear he doesn't need to be on it. So for this video, we'll give him a pass, for the most part.
Now this is the fun part. We're generally in the area, but the map doesn't specifically tell us, you know, within the building or whatever. So you gotta go look around, figure out one of these buildings is where we're gonna be staying at. So it's always an adventure.
11 Regent Street. That's 35.
Looks like we overshot our destination by a little bit, but we got there eventually. And once we did, we checked into our room, dropped off our bags, and then made our way to the restaurant. That is, if we could make it to the right station in time.
This is the end of the one. Yeah, we gotta go the other way.
Okay, my confidence is not high.
Alright, so we're finally on our way after going back and forth and then back again. Didn't lose too much time, it's alright. Got plenty of time to make it there, even though this train ride is going to be like an hour and 20 minutes, so all in good fun.
A few moments later.
Then after the train, we made it the rest of the way there on foot.
Alright, so we just passed this woman who had some pizzas, and man, it smells so good. Definitely getting hungry for this pho challenge. And right now we're doing about a 15-minute walk, and I think we got a little bit more after that, and then we'll be at the restaurant.
And after all that, we finally made it. Of course, at the restaurant we did our thing. After it was all said and done, it was time to make our way back to the hostel. And while the amount of traveling on a day-to-day basis can change, this amount of traveling isn't all that uncommon for these types of trips. And if you have any questions about traveling on these trips, or anything of the sort, let me know in the comments down below. And to watch more from this trip, you can check out the playlist on the screen or in the description down below, and I'll see you there.
Dude, you're already sweating like a fiend.
Coffee was hot. Didn't want to waste it. Competitive eaters aren't wasteful.